How do you find the right customer? How do I get out of the truck? How do you find qualified employees?
Every business owner I talk to struggles with the same thing. How do I get consistent work and have steady cash flow month to month?
Most plumbers think business is like a roller coaster. Some months are up, some months are down, but it doesn't have to be that way. The number one question I always get asked is, what's up, Joel?
Oh, come on, man. Full disclosure, I just ate 2 peanut butter balls.
Dude.
And I'm working on them.
Dude, aren't those good?
They are good. Wait, before you say whatever you're going to say.
Okay.
It's important to note that in your fridge, you don't have, like, the lid is loose on those.
Oh, heck yeah, dude.
So that you can just pop in there and snake one real quick. So
you don't want, like, you want as little resistance as possible to get to the peanut butter balls.
Yeah, I told you this story before, but like, I was driving home and I got cookies with with the partitions, and
With the partitions?
like how there's like they're in the plastic tray, right?
Yeah.
And so like you open the top and like you can only get so far in there. And I was driving home.
Oh yeah.
And the only reason why I couldn't eat the whole box is because my hand kept getting stuck, and that's when I realized I had a problem.
No.
Oh, I don't.
There's nothing wrong with eating a whole box of cookies.
Dang, I wish somebody would have told me that when I came up with that stupid idea.
As long as you're not like 500 pounds sitting there eating a box of cookies every day.
Ayla was telling me that you were doing really good on your diet, and then you made ice cream and cookies, and then you had a massive bowl of ice cream with cookies around the edge.
I didn't make cookies. My wife made cookies. And then I got an ice cream maker for Christmas, so I was like, I'm going to try making some ice cream. And then I made the ice cream, and I saw the cookies sitting there, and I was like, And
you just went after it.
Heck yeah, dude. You got to.
It's true. YOLO.
But YOLO, yeah, you only live once. It was healthy ice cream, though. It was all raw milk. I used maple syrup instead of sugar.
So you can eat as much as you want then, right? Yeah.
That's how I view it.
This is all good fat,
Forget about it.
Yeah.
The peanut butter balls, by the way, are just for everybody listening or watching.
Link to the recipe below.
We totally should.
You should.
But if you just listen to this, you're going to learn the recipe really quick because it's just
you should give
peanut butter.
You have a ghetto Google document with like 3 things on it.
Yeah.
People would appreciate it.
Peanut butter, oatmeal, and chocolate chips. Yeah, that's all that's in there. My wife makes them, mixes it all together, and then puts them in little balls, and then stacks them in a Tupperware container and puts them in the fridge. So they harden a little bit.
Yeah.
They're good. It's like a Reese's peanut butter cup, but I think it's better.
Yeah, well, because it's also not like terrible for you.
Not terrible for you. Dude, we got a treat today.
I'm excited. I love treats. Wait, more peanut butter balls? Jared, I just got done chewing these ones.
No more peanut butter balls. On this document in front of me, I have a bunch of questions, 100 almost questions.
Really? Dang.
We're going to call it 100.
Okay, cool.
100 questions of our most asked questions
Cool.
in the YouTube comments, and questions that we've gotten in our course, and just questions in general that we get all the time. And we're going to answer those questions for you today.
Oh my goodness.
On the podcast. And we have a lot of questions, and I would love to make it through all of them, but that may or may not happen. Yeah. So we're going to make through as many as we can because we want to answer them in as great a detail as we can.
Okay, cool.
But you're definitely going to learn something because these are questions that we get a lot of. And some of them are funny, and some of them are good, and some of them are going to take a little bit of work to answer.
Cool.
So
those are good questions.
Listen up, stay tuned, don't skip ahead. Watch the whole thing because you're going to learn something.
Yeah. I'm going to learn something.
You're definitely going to learn something. And
I learn something every time.
You're going to be the one answering the questions.
Oh, crap. Is that how this goes?
This is how this goes. So I want you to read the question and then read it like you're asking me.
Yeah.
And then I'll answer it the best I can, and you can add in your input. Okay. Or ask any qualifying questions.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, here you go.
Okay, if I don't know how to read, is that a problem? What if this is the moment that you figured out that I don't know how to read?
It's a major problem.
Awkward. Okay.
It's pneumatic.
Yeah.
Not puniomatic.
Oh. Is it still pterodactyl?
It's pterodactyl.
Okay, thank goodness.
Okay.
All is right with the world. Okay. You ready, Jared?
Yeah, just for everybody, I haven't heard. I looked at this very first question just now. That's it. Otherwise, I haven't read them.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, Jared, how do you convince a customer to pay a higher price when they say, I need it done cheap?
I need it done cheap. That's the wrong customer.
Yeah, but how do you convince them?
You don't.
Could you?
I mean, you could wheel and deal with them, I guess. Like if I went to somebody's house, let's put a little context behind this. If I went to somebody's house and they were like, I have this problem, and I presented them with a solution, and they said, I need it done cheap, I'd give them the cheapest solution I could get.
Sure.
I'd say, okay, let me think of the cheapest way I can get this fixed for you. I'll give you a price for that.
Would you do that before? Okay, so like this was before you would normally offer your normal options that you would offer, because they said right up front, I need this done cheap, right? That's sort of the scenario.
Let's say I offer them options first. Let's just whip out the old toilet flapper example because
yes, tried and true.
that's one we get all the time. So I would give them the options of toilet flapper. So at my company, we're $6.10 an hour. So that'd be, it'd probably be $610 for a toilet flapper. It'd probably realistically be $620 because of the $5 flapper, and then we double the parts. So it'd be $620 for the flapper. The guts on the inside, I mean, those are only like $20. It's not that much longer, so it'd probably be like $800 or a brand new toilet. I know a new toilet's probably like $1,200. Is probably what we sell it for. So I'd present them with those options, and then they'd say,
I'd probably, at that point, dude, I'd definitely get the new toilet.
Oh wait, no, you would. No, it was this customer.
Hey man, but I need it done cheap, man. Is that it? Like, can we?
I'd be like, well, let's do the flapper. It's the cheapest option. I mean, at that point in time, you already provided options. You already provided a price point. Like you anchored them at that $1,200 new toilet, or $800 for all the guts in their toilet. Like they have a pretty good price comparison.
Right.
At that point, what's funny is most people just choose the guts because they're like, why would I pay $600 for a flapper when I can get guts for like $100 more?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. If they don't just jump to the toilet.
Yeah. A lot of times they do jump to the toilet.
Yeah, which makes sense because it's like, because it makes sense because you're like, oh man, a toilet is like a whole new thing.
Yeah.
That I can justify in my mind more than just these couple of these little things.
And a lot of times the toilet is like the toilet that's in their house is short.
Yeah.
And it's a round front. And the lid is the old like composite wood ones, and they just freaking slam shut. And so when you're doing this, make sure in your options be like, hey, we can throw in a new toilet that's a little taller, so it's easier to get it on and off of. This is a big one for old people. Also, it's elongated, so it's more comfortable. That's a good seller for the guys. And then also, it'll have a soft close lid. Comes with a lid that just nice and soft. No more wham in the middle of the night. That sells a lot of people. But so let's just assume this guy he's like, oh man, that like cheapest of the cheap that's too much. I need it cheap.
Right.
I'd say, okay, well, let me call the office and see what I can do. This is what my guys are supposed to do. They don't do it all the time. We're always so busy that
Sure.
when we go to a customer like this, it's like we just go to the next job.
Yeah, you're like, all right, cool, man. Well, have a good day.
Yeah, because
it'll be $96.
Yeah, because we have so many of them, right?
Yeah.
And really, he's not really our customer anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you needed the work, or you had a big shop and you were slow, have your guys call the office and say, hey, I'm here with this customer.
Like right in front of the customer?
Right in front of the customer. Pull out your phone and be like, hey, I'm at this customer's house. They got a bad flapper. I presented them with the options. They wanted the cheapest, but the cost of the flapper is still more than they can afford. So then the office personnel can be trained to say, well, what were they hoping to spend today to get this problem fixed? And then the technician will be like, hey, they want to know how much you were hoping to spend today. And after telling them $620 for a flapper, they're usually not going to say $50. And even if they do, you can kind of laugh it off, right? So like no matter what they say, if they say, well, I was hoping it would be like $200, well, then you can come back and say, like the office staff would then say, oh, okay, well, tell the customer we still have to cover our costs, but because we're already there, we want to make sure they get taken care of. We could do it for $300.
Yeah.
Or $350 or whatever.
And what Is that number just your break-even number? Like, what is that number that's in the they would say?
You can go all the way down to your break-even number. Like if you go grab our playbook, there's a link. If you're on YouTube, there's a link in the description of this video.
Right next to the recipe.
If you're listening on whatever podcasting you listen on, you can go to any of our social media profiles and there's a link. It's www.wealthyplumber. Actually, it's just wealthyplumber.com/theplaybook. Okay. Or you can also go to wealthyplumber.com/playbook. Save you type in 3 letters. So if you do that, you can go get our pricing calculator. Part of what that pricing calculator does is it gives you a cost per billable hour. That's your break-even rate, right? The thing is, though, if you're at somebody's house and you've taken the time to show up, quote them, call the office, when you go collect just a diagnostic fee, if you don't sell any work, you're losing money.
Yeah, sure. And if you don't have anything going on after that.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 ways to think about that. If you got nothing going on after that, sure, go as bottom dollar as you can.
Yeah, go right above your diagnostic fee, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if there's literally nothing else for you to do.
You could go all the way down. Like if your our diagnostic in 96, you could go to 101. That would cover your diagnostic and the cost of the flapper.
Yeah.
But at least the customer would get taken care of.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, in this job, it's not like you're going to be there for 5 hours or something ridiculous.
Yeah. And then you probably sidestep a 5-star review. Or sorry, a 1-star review, maybe. Yeah. They're probably happy that you worked with them on their budget. Yeah. And then you mark them in your CRM, do not service.
Yeah.
Because they're not your customer.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But even if another way to think about this is if you're busy, right? And you're like, I could go to another job and probably sell some work. It's still better to discount because you're sitting at this house, you have an opportunity. If you walk away with $96, you lost money. If you walk away with $200, you lost less money. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're
sure.
And if you're like you just started your business and you got like some money is better than no money, right? So I would always work with the customer every single time.
Yeah, so do you find like when people are increasing their price, right? Do you ever find that they don't work with the customer? Like they'll be like, all right, Jared gave me a new price. I'm going to go and just charge this price. And like, Jared, I'm not selling any work at my new price.
Yeah.
Like, and then are you just like, yeah, well, you can.
Yeah, what are you doing? No, I always cover that on our.
Yeah.
Every time we go over, it's part of our program when you get into our coaching program is you get a one-on-one call with me in the very beginning. We go over your hourly rate calculator because it's so important.
Yeah.
And we go over like what it all means and how to use it to your advantage and how to look at it and how to run your discounts and all that good stuff. So
yeah. So like if you're out there and you're like raising your rates, like understand that it doesn't mean that like, well, I lost all my jobs now.
Yeah.
It's like what's going to happen is you're going to make more money because even if you discount, you're starting at like $450 an hour instead of starting at 110 or like 200 where you were before.
The thing is, most guys are charging like 100 to 200 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I feel like not too many people are down at like 120 anymore. It's like it's starting to catch on. They're all like 150. It's probably the lowest I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
So let's say they're 150 to 250, but they're losing money every time they go to a call.
Yeah, 100%.
But if you lose money 20% of the time and you make money 80% of the time, then you're money ahead, right?
Yeah, and if you like, because before you would go to that call and that customer is probably gonna be like, whoa, $220 to change a flapper? Like, oh, I'm good on that. This time they're gonna, and then maybe you haggle down to like $100. At least at this point, you probably haggle down. I mean, you might haggle down all the way to $100, but the likelihood of you, if you're at $450, haggling down to like $300 is more likely.
Yeah.
Because you're actually starting higher. No customer is going to be like, "Are you sure you don't want to do that for $300 instead of $200?" Like that's not going to happen. But so when you're changing your price, you can start high, and then you'll sell people at that high rate.
You can always go lower, but you can't go up.
Yeah.
You can always go down, but it's really hard to go up.
Yeah, that's funny.
Really
I never even thought about that because in my head it was like, you just charge that rate and then you just lose the jobs that you would have lost. I never thought that like, no, man, you're there.
Yeah, so like even like my company, we have a built-in 10% off discount task. So there's a task that they can add in on Service Titan that discounts 10%. We have we have a task that they had to manually discount. We're setting it up now to where there's an automatic 10% discount when they add the task. It's a new feature in Service Titan that we just found out about. So we're setting it up so that there's a new customer 10% off discount. There's a existing customer 10% off discount, and then we're gonna have one called promotional discount. It's going to be 10% off. And we're going to go in, and the promotional one is going to be like every time we run a new promotion, we're just going to change the name of it.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we tested this over Christmas and we sold a ton of work. It was actually wild. We had a record December.
Yeah.
December usually slows down, drops off quite a bit for us. And so this December, knowing that and knowing we were coming up on Christmas, like 2 weeks before Christmas, we ran 1 week before Christmas, we ran a 10% off until Christmas discount. And then after Christmas Day, we ran 10% off until New Year's. Had to do the work before that, before Christmas or before New Year's. Otherwise, you lose your 10%. Dude, that pushed so many people over the edge. It was crazy. It was wild.
Yeah, it was like, well, I guess I should do this now because if I don't, I'll miss out on this. And depending on 10% is always something, but it could be like actually something depending upon what they needed done.
I mean, for us, the minimum it is $60.
Yeah, sure.
So, and $60 is a lot to some people. So like, think about it. Then they're like, okay, I can say no and pay them $96, or I can pay $60 less now for the work.
Yeah.
And they're likely just going to call somebody else. Like they're either going to call us back later or call somebody else back later.
Right.
I think in our case, when we go and we sell work at a discount, they were going to call us back later.
Right.
They didn't want to spend the money now, but that little 10% just pushed them over the edge.
Yeah.
Which was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start running like regularly scheduled promotions just to push people over the edge.
Yeah.
And my guys will add them to every single estimate. And as long as we sell more work than we normally would, we're money ahead.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, we gain efficiency by doing that.
Yeah,
is what
cool.
ends up happening.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I think we got that
Phew.
one. Feel good about that one. Okay. Hey, Jared.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man. How's it going? Okay. Question number 2.
Dude,
we're doing it, man. We're going to make it through 3 of these.
This is nerve-wracking because hopefully I can answer all these questions.
Yeah, this one's in Spanish, so we'll do our best.
No comprende.
Yeah, me neither. Yo
Uno,
necesito.
dos, tres.
Yeah. Nice, dude. Okay. Can you break down business expenses as a percentage of total revenue?
Oh.
Generally speaking, is labor 50%, advertising... Wait, hold on a second. Generally speaking, is labor 50%, advertising, marketing 20%, overhead 20%, profit 10%? I think there's supposed to be a question mark there. Also, kind of wondering if you take home a salary or is it a percentage or how that works.
Okay, 2 questions in one.
Yeah, bonus.
Okay, question number 1, percentage-wise, this is how it breaks down. The best way to think about it is on your P&L.
Yeah.
You have 100%. Like every dollar amount on your P&L adds up to 100%
Makes sense.
of your total income.
Okay.
So if you work your way from the bottom up and you just add up all the numbers, by the time you get to the top, the total income and all the numbers added up are going to be the same. So total income is 100%, or gross revenue, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So then you have, under that, you have your COGS.
Wait. Okay, so under the top line, you have your COGS.
Top line revenue. Have you ever heard that said?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just referring to like the very top line on your P&L.
Yeah.
Is how much money you brought in.
Yeah.
They're going to call it a gazillion different things.
Yeah.
But it's however much money you actually, like, and it's not even like how much you sold, unless you're on well, we won't even go there. It's how much money actually hit your bank account.
Okay. Yeah. Because you could sell work but not have done that work.
Yes. And everything under that from there on out is how much money left your bank account.
Yeah.
And there's a few lines in there that tell you how much is left over after that money went out. Okay. So top line, total money collected.
Yeah.
How much money hit your bank account. Underneath that is your COGS. And we'll come back to COGS. Underneath your COGS is your gross profit. Gross profit is one of those line items that's how much was left over. It's
almost like middle line. Nobody would call it that, but like
No.
in my brain, that's like how, because like it's a
No.
literal line. And
It's
then,
like a core. It's like 20% down from the top.
Okay, so it's
maybe
not really middle line.
It depends on how much you break up all your stuff.
Yeah, sure.
It could be like way up at the top.
Sure.
Okay. All it is how much money came in your bank account minus how much you spent on COGS. Okay. So you want your gross profit to be 50% minimum. I'm just calling it minimum. Some people are going to be able to roll at 60, 70. The higher you get that gross, the better.
Sure.
The higher your gross, the better. Minimum is 50%. My company, we run dead nuts pretty much 50% all the time without fail. In your COGS are anything related to the direct fulfillment. We've covered this a lot on this podcast recently.
Yeah.
But anything related to the direct fulfillment of your product. So if you have a plumbing business, you buy and resell two things: materials and skilled labor.
Yeah.
So any costs associated with your materials or your technician labor are COGS.
Yeah. Not tools though, right?
No, not tools.
Yeah.
Subcontractors, COGS.
Okay. Interesting.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
materials you buy for the job, anything you spend on subcontractors, and anything associated with labor. So their wages, their commission, your employer portion of their taxes, any of their benefits, that's all COGS, okay? Cost of goods sold. You're going to subtract that, and you should be left with 50%. Out of that 50%, you should have roughly 25% is typically, and this is typically what you see. So this would be like, and if you could get above these numbers, great.
Sure.
And some people you'll see, I would say the lowest for labor and subs, 20%. Ideally 25% or better. Am I thinking about this right? Am I going backwards?
I don't know. Maybe. Let's just keep going. We'll find out.
I don't know.
You'll figure it out.
25% is typical what you see, okay? And then materials. Did I say labor and subs? Materials and subs I would throw in the same category. Like I would say that's going to be 25%.
Yeah, you did say labor and subs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say material and subs, 25%. And that should be an easy one to hit because you should be marking those up 100%. Okay? Otherwise, you're never going to hit your 50% gross profit margin. Okay? Out of labor, all your labor costs should be 20% or 25%.
Yeah.
Okay? It should be no more. That should be like, that's maximum.
Yeah.
If you could do it for less, then great. That's going to raise your gross profit, right? So that's typically how that works out. 50% gross. Out of that 50% gross is typically 25% material subs, 25% labor. Okay?
Gotcha.
And then underneath that, you take out all your overhead, and what's left over is your net profit.
Yeah, gotcha.
So net profit, if we have 50% left over after gross, and we want to hit 20% net, then that leaves 30% for our overhead. And that's typically what you'll see out of a plumbing business.
Yeah, gotcha.
As far as marketing costs go, you're going to see anywhere from 10 to 15% is probably industry standard.
Okay.
The smaller your revenue numbers are, the higher that percentage is going to be. Because you're dealing with smaller numbers, and so you have to make the number higher to have enough impact to actually do what you need it to do.
Right. Yeah.
And then out of that, and like my company, we're at 8%, right? Because we at 5 million, we don't need to spend 15% of desired revenue on marketing, unless we were trying to grow. Then we still we would totally be pushing those numbers.
Sure.
So like 10% on the lower end is considered like maintenance. So I'd say 8 to 10 is maintenance. If you're under if you're 3 million and under, I would spend at least 10%.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
And then, you get up into 12% and it's like, okay, we're growing at a steady rate. 13, 14, you start getting more aggressive. 15 would be like, I'm being really aggressive with my marketing. that's how much you would want to spend on marketing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Second part of the question was
also kind of wondering if you take home a salary, or is it a percentage, or how does that work? So how does your salary works?
So salary is your salary should be overhead.
Gotcha.
And it should be part of the business expenses.
Yeah.
You as the business owner need to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
You don't just get paid from profits.
Right.
You are a part of that company, and you need to get a paycheck. You are the CEO.
Yeah.
Okay? So forget the term business owner. You're the CEO.
Yeah, and the CEO gets a paycheck.
CEO gets a paycheck. Yes.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing anything in the company, you get a paycheck.
Right.
And so that needs to be part of what you factor in when you're factoring pricing as well.
Yeah.
The business needs to make a profit aside from your paycheck. So
yeah, sure. Because if you're profitable until you take your paycheck, you're not really
profitable.
Yeah, it's not going to show profit on paper.
Yeah.
And you would be lying to yourself. Because I've had these conversations where guys are like, well, I'm profitable. I'm like,
Yeah.
before or after your paycheck? Like, well, before.
Yeah.
Like, so you're not profitable.
You're not profitable.
Yeah.
Yep. And anybody who comes to buy your business is going to look at it that exact same way.
Right.
So they're going to say, okay, you made $500,000, but you didn't take a regular paycheck. So you really only made, $350,000
Yeah.
after you paid yourself.
Yeah.
So, or they're going to look at it like, okay, your profit margin says 300,000, but you took home 150,000. So that means your business is capable of providing us with 450,000.
Right.
IRS purposes, they're going to look at it and go, if you're paying yourself a regular paycheck, like if you're an LLC and you're paying taxes on your paycheck, just like a regular payroll tax, then you only have to pay taxes on what the company made.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right.
That sounds a little less complex. Is that true?
I don't know. A lot of guys, they will just take owner draws instead of paying themselves a regular paycheck. And that's what I did when I was growing, and it was a big mistake because it was like, I got money, I'm going to pay myself. I don't have any money, I'm not paying myself.
Yeah, sure.
Right? And so I would use not paying myself as a way to like further the business objective.
Yeah.
Which is kind of dumb if you think about it. So, and typically when I had money, then I would pay myself more than what I actually needed.
Sure.
And it's really hard to budget your personal lifestyle if you don't have a set income.
Yeah, and it can be a little stressful too if you're like, oh, we got to grind hard so we can make some money because I don't have a regular paycheck at this point.
Yeah.
Like for your family, your wife might be like, okay, why don't you have a regular paycheck?
Yeah.
Well, because I just do this thing. Like,
Yeah. So what I would do if I was doing it all over again, and for anybody that's doing it now, I would make a budget for my personal lifestyle. I would figure out what the absolute minimum I needed to live off of was, and I would pay myself that plus maybe 10%.
Yeah.
And then I would develop the discipline to live off of that amount. And that's what I would do. And then you're always set.
Yeah.
You're good. No taking business funds because you mismanaged your money as a, at home.
Yeah.
That's not what you want to do.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
No.
Okay, cool. No, I think we got that one. Okay, you ready for number 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Should we take a push-up break? Yeah, okay.
Totally.
Let's do it. Push-up break. Here we go. Okay, number 3. If you had to break your business expenses down in... Okay, just make sure I was like on the same question. Okay. If you had to break your business expenses down in percentages, how would you break it down? Employee wages, overhead, marketing, insurance, tools, vans, profit. Most of all things considered, do you, owner, take home a set salary, or do you... It's the same question.
It's the same question. Is it on there twice?
No, it's a different question, but it's the same question.
Okay.
Okay, so referred as...
So we already covered it.
I think so. Let me just make sure. Employee wages. So yeah, employee wages is part of your COGS.
25%.
Overhead, marketing goes into your overhead. Insurance goes into your COGS if it's attached to your employees. Tools? No. Insurance?
Health
Okay.
insurance would go into your COGS.
That's what I mean. Is health
Business insurance would be overhead.
Okay, cool. So that's helpful. And then tools, vans, that's all in overhead.
Correct.
I think sometimes it gets... Because I was actually thinking about this today, ironically enough, is that I was like, I think I was eating and I was like, wait, is tools part of COGS?
No.
And then I remembered, I was like, it's not, because in our heads you think we need tools to do the work.
You need tools to do the work, but you don't buy and resell tools.
Right. That's not your business model.
Correct.
Yeah, gotcha. And that's
You buy and resell materials and skilled labor.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I can imagine that when guys listen to this, if they didn't know that clearly, they would structure their P&L and mess it up and see percentages off because they'd put their tools in there or they put their van in there and then their overhead would be tiny. They're like, oh, my overhead's super good.
Yep.
And they'd see this large spread on their P&L for the COGS. My COGS are really high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way I think about it is, if I bought and sold coffee cups, if I bought this from somebody and resold it to you, my COGS would be this coffee cup.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Right? And so you buy and sell materials, skilled labor. That's it.
Yeah.
So if it's not associated with the materials or the skilled labor, it's not a cog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
And the reason we split it up on our P&L that way, number one, it's handy to go, oh, I hit 50% profit. Cool, I'm healthy. I hit 50% gross, I'm healthy. I hit 20% net, I'm healthy. It also helps you identify, if you have a problem, where the problem is at.
Sure.
Because if you go down to the bottom of your P&L and your net is like 10%, right? Then you go, I got a problem.
And then you could go
if you go up to your gross profit and you hit 50% gross, then you know you have an overhead problem.
Oh, dude, that's so helpful.
If you didn't hit 50% gross, you know you have a COGS problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Gotcha.
So it just helps you to know where to look.
Yeah. Yeah, that is super helpful. So instead of, I mean, and we talk about this, but like the name of the game is understanding where your problem is so that you can fix it.
Yep.
And since guys don't understand the business model to start, they don't even know where problems, they wouldn't even know where to look.
They have no clue.
Yeah.
Not a clue.
So it's just like, you're just hoping that what you're doing is going to work
Most people
for long enough.
Most guys are trying to build their business within a we'll call it a cap.
Yeah.
Right? So they believe, like they think, I can only charge this much. How do I design my business within that cap? The reality is you need to say, this is how much it costs me to run my business. How much do I actually need to charge to run this thing? It's different than what most people think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Dude, question number 4. We're ripping through these.
Okay, hey, real quick, because we're talking about P&Ls, when you're talking to your accountant and your lawyer and your CPA and your, I guess they're the same thing, but, and your bookkeeper, they have no idea about any of this.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
No clue.
Your bookkeeper probably does books for lots of businesses.
I was barely making it, and my bookkeeper was like, you're killing it. And I was like, what?
Because she was just looking at just revenue, right?
She's looking at revenue.
Yeah, she's like, your revenue's awesome. Like top line revenue?
Yeah.
I feel so cool when I say that. Top line revenue?
Top line, bro.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's up here. That's how you know you made it. You can throw these words around at parties, everybody. Yeah. Sound really sophisticated.
Yeah.
How's your top line?
Unless there's like a real business owner there and he's like, this guy don't know what he's talking about.
Beware. Okay, actually, I derailed you on that. So your bookkeeper doesn't know.
She doesn't know, so don't listen to her.
Yeah,
is all.
Or like maybe know enough so that you can help her structure your P&L.
Oh yeah, a lot of guys have to go talk to the bookkeeper and say, this is how I need my chart of accounts structured. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, this is a slight dogleg in the conversation, but it seems to me that you hire these people, these bookkeepers, accountants, marketing agencies, and the assumption is they know exactly what to do, so you don't have to know anything.
That's the assumption. Very good.
What's the reality, though?
The reality is that, yes, they are a professional in their field. Yes, they should know what they're doing. But they're just people, right? Business is just think about how often, you may not know this, but our listeners, you're in our business, you're in the Wealthy Plumber. Think about how often we're like, oh crap, we messed that one up, right?
Definitely.
Or, oh man, we didn't even think about that, right? We're constantly learning every single day, okay? We're constantly becoming better people. We're constantly making mistakes,
right?
And we try to limit that to the best of our ability. But at the end of the day, in every single business, the business is full of people,
right?
And people make mistakes, and people sometimes don't know what they're doing and run into things that they don't understand, right? So anytime you deal with a contractor or subcontractor or a marketing company or a bookkeeper or a CPA, it's your job as the business owner to understand what's going on and be involved and make smart decisions.
Yeah.
I like to think of when you're hiring these people, it's a partnership.
Yeah, sure.
It's a partnership, but ultimately who's responsible in this partnership?
You are.
You are. It's your business. So you need to be involved. You need to understand what's going on, and you need to be a part of the decision making.
Right.
Not just say, "Oh, they got it.
Right.
It'll be good."
Yeah.
Because chances are it won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right, number 4.
Number 4.
The rip the customer off mentality word gets around. Next thing you know, nobody wants you. Word of mouth will send your referrals to the trash can. Once a customer figures out you rip them off, you're out along with everyone they know. Now, your customer is my customer because they get a good job at a fair price. So I thank you for being so greedy. It sends customers my way all the time. LOL.
Yeah.
Your response.
So this guy is assuming that being expensive is ripping people off.
Yes, I think so.
And
yeah.
that if you continue to rip people off, your customers will leave, and then the fair contractor, the fair plumber.
There's lots of air quotes going around for everybody who's just listening.
Yes, will get all the work, right?
Yeah.
And the funny part about this, so number one, what is a fair price, right?
Whatever I say it is.
I would agree if you go just rip people off, then you're not going to be in business for very long.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're probably not going to make it. Word's going to get around. They're going to be like, these guys, they're just rip-offs.
Yeah, what would you, how would you define ripping the customer off?
If they paid you for something that you didn't give them, that would be a rip-off.
Yeah,
but if
sure.
they agree to a price for work that they agreed to,
Sure.
right? You guys had a mutual agreement. They agreed to pay.
Essentially a contract.
You agreed to do the work. That's fair. It doesn't matter what the price is.
Yeah, true.
It's fair.
True.
Right? Even if you're way over market value, right? That's on them to go get more quotes, right? So, like, if I was to hire you and you came to my house and you charged me $200,000 for this thing, and I said, yeah, let's do it, man. And we signed a contract. You agreed to do this thing. Because you did do that thing, I agreed to pay you $200,000. And you did the thing, and I paid you $200,000. That's fair.
Yeah, it was decided by both parties that there's a mutual benefit.
If I call around afterwards and I get a quote for $50,000, and I'm like, this dude ripped me off. That is not on you. That is on me.
Yeah, that is on the person who, I guess in this scenario, didn't do their due diligence to find the best price, whatever they wanted to do.
Yes.
Like they just took that business in that moment. Like when I bought a brand new car, that was a terrible deal for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't the salesman's fault. It wasn't anybody's fault except for mine. Because I said, oh yeah, I'll agree to this astronomical price for this tiny car. Sure, I'll sign my name to it.
This is a true story, by the way.
Yeah, by the way. It wasn't their fault.
No.
Like I can't walk out of there and be like, oh, that salesman, but see, some people might, right? They might walk out and be like, that salesman didn't give me all the information.
Those people have the victim mentality.
Yeah, and the reality is it's like you're responsible for what you do.
Yes. Okay, that's half the equation though.
Yes.
On the other end, like as a contractor, you have to decide, or as a plumbing business owner, you have to decide what is a fair price that you're willing to charge as well, right? So to me, a fair price covers my expenses, provides the customer with a good experience, provides my employees with a good living, and still makes a profit.
Right.
So if I can charge a price that does those things, right, then that's a fair price. And the other thing is like the market is a real thing, okay? If I'm in town and I'm providing this incredible value to my customers, to my employees, and I'm making a profit, and I'm charging more than what it costs me to provide that value and make a profit, somebody could come in and provide the same amount of value at a cheaper price.
Right.
If the playing field is equal on value,
Right.
the only other deciding factor is price.
Right.
So when you price high, it's a measure of the the value you're bringing to the marketplace.
Yeah,
so
sure.
your expenses for your business, as long as they're legitimate expenses that either increase efficiency or bring value to your employees and bring value to your customers. If they're not doing any of those, then you don't need them.
Right.
Right. You don't have any fluff expenses. Your expenses are a direct representation. It's a dollar amount representation of the value you're bringing into the marketplace. And as long as you keep those expenses as low as possible and charge enough to cover those expenses, make a profit, nobody can come into the marketplace and do the same thing you do any cheaper. That's what I would call, for me personally, as a plumbing business owner, that's what I would consider a fair price.
Gotcha.
Now on the other end of it, to this guy's point, like he's under the mindset that he's going to be able to go in and, so, I mean, just think about the silliness in this comment, right? You've got big shops charging $600 an hour and they've been in business for years.
Yeah, they typically grow and
And
they
they're
hire all the guys.
And
the guy that you just had got lost to the big shop because
they get
can
most
pay
of
more.
they get most of the customers. And in his logic, they would go out of business, like because all the customers would flee to this guy.
Yeah, and this guy would be, I guess, making a lot of money, question mark?
This guy would be the millionaire, then the
Yeah.
big shops would be going broke. But the opposite is true, right?
Yeah, I guess that's, yeah.
So it's a bad belief.
Yeah, it just doesn't pencil out at the end of the day.
No.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. I
Okay.
feel good about that one. Feel good about
Okay.
that one?
Sure.
Okay. What advice would you give people who aspire to start a plumbing company in places like England? I assume there may be something that would be different to have or have separate advice. I assume that there may be something that would be different or there might be different advice that you would need to give.
It's all the same.
How so?
No matter what, like they have plumbing problems, they call a plumber to get them fixed. It's a different currency. But at the end of the day, currency is just a metric to measure numbers.
Right.
So it's the same.
Yeah, the numbers might be different, smaller or larger, but would it even be the same like on your P&L, like the same percentages? Yeah.
Same thing.
Because again, you're still, like the answer to this question exists in what we've talked about already, where it's like what you're doing is you're selling skilled labor and materials.
Yep. And you're going to take that skilled labor, whatever you have to pay them to get them to come work for you, and whatever you have to pay for the materials, you're going to mark that up enough to hit 50% gross profit.
Yeah.
It's going to be 100% markup on that stuff. And you're going to keep your overhead under 30%. You can even use our calculator, just instead of dollars, whatever it is in the UK. I don't even know. Pounds? Is it pounds?
Dude, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm an ignorant American. I don't know anything about the world.
Yeah, me too.
I talked to a guy from Australia, and he said, "Oh, it's tomorrow here already." And then I said just the dumb American joke, like, "Oh, how's the future?" I could just see him being like, "You're such an idiot." And I'd be
You
like,
dumb
"Sorry,
Americans."
I never talked to people from the future before. Just normal American stuff."
That's funny.
Yeah, it's even funnier thinking about it now. Hopefully, he'll listen to this and he'll just shake his head and be like, "Yeah."
Okay. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like at the end of the day, you are providing a service to a customer. And if you price yourself properly to cover expenses and overhead, like you're going to have expenses, you're going to have overhead, you're going to have guys to pay, you're going to run around in vans. It's the same model.
And you're going to have like different licensing requirements or different like tax structures. But at the end of the day,
None of that matters.
none of that matters.
Nope.
Like it doesn't change anything that we talk about.
Nope.
Like that P&L structure is still going to be the same.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Easy peasy. I want to start my own residential service company in the future, but I'm barely starting out. I'm thinking of going with this company called Roto-Rooter since they are hiring apprentices, but they make you buy your own van. I'm not sure how it will work when I want to quit and start working for myself. Like, am I going to be able to keep the van or not? Or should I go with a different company? Although not many are hiring in my area. I'm in Houston, Texas.
That sounds very weird for Roto-Rooter to want you to buy your own van.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I wouldn't work there. And I probably wouldn't go work for Roto-Rooter either.
How come?
Because Roto-Rooter's a franchise, so you're not going to get a good inside look of like how business should run.
Yeah. Yeah, I just talked to this guy who was, actually, it was a kid. He was 17 years old, and he booked a call on my calendar, and
Yeah.
I took it. It was a fun call because it's like, I like talking to kids like that because then I can tell them like just like old man stuff, like, hey, do hard stuff and don't hang out with idiots, and like just like then just
back in my day,
get on my soapbox for like 15 minutes and have a captive audience. It's great.
Yeah,
but I told him to go and like get a job at a big shop so that he could understand like how big shops run, and I told him if he could like be like a selling technician, because sometimes big shops they'll just, well, you're just the sales guy, you're the installer, like. To have that rounded experience is important, but what I should have told him is like, try not to make it a franchise, because that matters as far as his experience for building his own business.
This is what I would do. And this guy's in Houston. I guarantee you there's tons of businesses he could go work for. And he says they're not hiring. He just doesn't know they're hiring.
Yeah.
I would go on the internet. I would search plumbers in Houston, and I would go find somebody with really awesome truck wraps.
Right.
Go to kickchargecreative.com, look at their truck wraps, and then go find somebody with a similar truck wrap in your area. I would go to that contractor, and I would find somebody if they have like, 4 to 20 trucks.
Yeah.
And I would go to them and I would say, I want to come work for you for free in the office. Because I want to learn how this business runs. If somebody came to me and did that, I'd be like, heck yeah, dude. Come on in. I'll teach you.
Even if you knew that they wanted to like start up a potentially competitive company to you?
Heck yeah. Yeah. Like if I saw that in a young kid,
sure, yeah.
I'd be like, dude, you're a total badass.
Yeah, even this kid who was 17, I was like, dude, you're thinking about it the right way because you're thinking about business stuff.
Totally.
Like, don't get lost in the weeds of the plumbing. Like the business stuff is going to be the thing that's going to carry the day.
Yeah. I would offer to come work for him. Like I would say, I'll work in the field. I'll be like pennies, like pay me minimum wage.
Yeah.
I'll work in the field. And then if I can come in the office for 1 day a week, I'll work for free.
Yeah. Like
if I can work, even if I have to work around the shop, I'll sweep the floors. I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I just want you to teach me how your business runs. Find somebody who has truck wraps, who's charging a ton of money, who's at least $400, $500, $600 an hour, and figure out what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, cool. That's good advice.
Had I done that, I would have been so much better off.
Sure, yeah, because you would have experienced the proper business model way earlier.
Like 17 years earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all that like
so I started my business the first time 9 years in. And then I didn't start it right. I started it the fourth time, the right way, 9 years later.
Sure. Yeah.
I wasted 9 years trying to figure it out, trying to figure out how in the heck all this stuff works.
Right.
9 years.
Dang, that's a long time. Like if you think what you've done with your company in the past, however many 2 or 3 or whatever, how many years it is, to where you are now, like that's not even half the time that you spent in that 9 years not understanding how the plumbing business actually runs.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, 9 years is a long time.
Yeah. It took me 9 years to like shift my mindset and actually like go figure out how to run an actual plumbing business. Whereas if you could go work for somebody who had that all figured out, you'd get done with your apprenticeship program and you'd be rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
Be like, bam.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool question.
Cool
question. So taking your advice, from what I've listened to so far, you need to learn to do all these things as a business owner. Shouldn't you learn to do marketing then? I assume maybe learning to do marketing yourself seems to be implied in the question.
Yes. The answer is yes and no.
Okay.
Because like we talked about earlier, you hire a marketing company.
Right.
You need to know what they're doing. You need to understand, like at a core level, you need to understand it.
Right.
So like I couldn't go set up a AdWords campaign for a new plumbing company and be confident it's going to be successful.
Sure.
But I can go into my AdWords campaign and I know exactly what's going on.
Sure. Yeah, I gotcha.
So, and that's really important. There were times in my business where the like AdWords cost was going up and the marketing company wanted to put a cap on how much we were spending, right? Had I done that, it would have hurt my business really bad.
Sure.
But because I understood how AdWords worked, I did something different because the marketing company is coming at it from a totally different angle than you are as the business owner.
Sure.
And they don't have the understanding of your business like you do. And so you need to know your business, and you need to know you need to understand the fundamentals of the marketing and what it's doing and how it works and how it relates to your business so that you can make smart decisions on how to tweak it to affect your business positively. That's what I think.
Cool. I like that.
But to try to do it all yourself, that'd be a huge learning curve.
Yeah, and I think what happens is, because again, when guys are trying to build a business underneath an artificial cap, they think, I'm going to save money by doing the marketing myself.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you're not going to be able to do it as well as a professional, and it's going to suck up tons of time.
Yeah. If you're just starting out, you could get your GMB yourself. You could do your GLSA yourself, and that's about it.
Yeah.
You could get your social media. But even then, most guys like screw up the Facebook header image.
Yeah.
Like it just looks like garbage when you do it. So
yeah, true.
I would get a GMB and I would get GLSA
Yeah.
if I couldn't afford a marketing company. And then I would probably just post on my personal Facebook.
Yeah.
And try to get enough work to go from there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I need the new guide, please. You mentioned that there have been some revisions. Once again, thank you for all the great information.
The new playbook.
Yeah.
Yeah, the playbook got updated, and it'll probably continue to get updated, to be honest with you.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, it's a good thing.
Well, I'm just, as I think of stuff to put in there, I put it in there.
Yeah.
It's the same link in this podcast. So on YouTube or on any social media profile, you can go, and in our bio, there's a link, and you can go grab the playbook.
Yeah.
But that link will always have the updated version.
Yeah.
So if you got the day 1 through 7 version of this, I think day 8 I updated it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's almost like a living document. Can I give you my thoughts on that?
Yeah.
I think you should just update it, but then just release it so that people know. So that you're like, hey, playbook 2.0.
I did.
And then, okay, cool.
I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, I know.
There was one thing in here I really wanted the people who got it to have that I forgot to put in there. It was just one thing.
Yeah.
It was the hourly rate calculator, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot to put it in here.
Oh, man.
And I was like, dang it, these guys need this.
Yeah,
So-
this thing is that's a very useful tool.
Yeah, so I threw it in there. So if you didn't get the calculator, the hourly rate calculator, I think I added one section in the back as well. I don't remember what it was, but if your playbook doesn't have the calculator in it,
it's the
then
old one.
you have the old one.
Gotcha.
And to get the new one, go click the link, throw in your email, and you'll have it.
It'll probably be in your junk. In your
It'll
junk
be in
email, that is.
It'll be in spam, junk, something.
Yeah.
If you want to do us a huge favor, you could mark it not spam.
Yeah, because then that will help you get whatever else we keep sending you.
Yes, because we're always sending you good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Always good
Always.
stuff. Yep, I read them every day.
Do you? I don't even know what's
You
on
don't
them.
even check your email. Yeah. All right. Okay. Could you maybe do a video on what your overhead is versus your revenue? Trying to see if your $400 to $500 an hour is because of the location you are in.
So, kind of a dual question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've answered a lot of this.
Yeah.
But,
Overhead versus revenue. And then $400 to $500 is because of location.
yeah. And maybe the assumption here is, oh, you can charge that much because you're in the middle of Alaska and you have to sled dog everything in and it's super expensive.
It doesn't matter where I was. People would be like, oh, you can charge that much because.
Yeah. You're in a
You're
really
in
busy
here.
market or
Yeah.
you're in a unique market.
If I was in California, they'd say, you can charge that because you're in California. Or if I was in Florida, if I was here in Pensacola, Florida, they'd probably be like, you can charge that because there's a lot of rich people there.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But
yeah.
so here's the thing with this. We'll answer the second part of the question.
Okay.
It doesn't matter where you're at. You have to cover your expenses and charge the customer enough to make a profit.
Right.
Charge the customer enough to cover your expenses and make a profit.
Yeah.
I've never, ever, ever walked through an hourly rate calculator with anybody, and I've done it for hundreds of business owners. multiples of hundreds. It's never come below $400 an hour.
Yeah.
Ever. So the cost of running a business, let's put it this way. How much you have to charge to cover the cost plus make a profit has never been less than $400.
Yeah.
Alabama, Florida, California, Alaska, New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, Vermont, Virginia, Montana, Colorado, Kentucky, I don't care where you are, it's never been less than 400. So no, it is not location dependent being $400 to $500 an hour. It is location dependent, like whether you're 400 or 600, right?
Yeah. Yep.
If you're in California, it's going to cost you more to run your business. You're going to have to charge more to the customer to make up for that fact. The good news about that is that you just end up doing higher dollar amounts. And so if you maintain the same profit margin, you make more money doing the same amount of work.
Yeah, sure.
Right? But then California takes it all from you. If you're in Kentucky, it's going to be cheaper to run your business. So you're probably not going to have to charge the $650 that the Californians do. Right. You're probably going to be able to get away with, you're going to be able to charge less and still make a fair profit. Right. So it is location dependent, but you're never going to be under 400.
Yeah. Yeah. It's location dependent, but not maybe for the reasons that this question asker is thinking.
Yes.
And like in this question, they're like, there's a normal human trait that's happening here is whenever we're approached with a challenging idea, we immediately try to defend our current position because we don't want to be wrong. And we don't want to have to pivot our life and thinking.
Yeah.
So it's natural to be like, whoa. Let me just, so when you say like, this is how much you need to charge, people are immediately like, there's no way. Because my position is obviously correct because I've been doing this. And this guy is just coming at me with this whole new angle. So we just naturally want to defend what we're currently doing.
They believe in going rate.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Which going
rate is just flat out going broke.
Yeah.
If you charge the going rate, you're going to go broke.
Yeah. And if you Google like average plumber rate and then that's what you base it off of, that is the wrong answer as well.
I'm even willing to, if you don't have a solid understanding of your numbers, you're going to have a very hard time being profitable.
Yeah. I was even talking to a guy today and it was a cool conversation because like he was cool in the sense that he was open with like sharing about his business, but he had a hard time. He didn't want to be the most expensive because he wanted to be able to serve people who didn't have very much money. And not necessarily very much. Like I think he was thinking like, I don't know, sort of middle of the road. He just didn't want, it was hard for him to want to charge a ton of money. Because he wanted to have that sort of fair pricing mentality.
Then he needs to charge more people more money so he can afford to charge other people less money.
Yeah. So
like your business is going to cost you so much to run. You can only get it down so far.
Yeah. And like he was really hoping he could sort of rewrite the business model that was original to his area and his like relationships with, the groups that he was a part of, realtor groups, et cetera, that he could get all these referral works. So he's really trying to play this game. But when I got to him, I was like, man, like this is what I think is going to happen is you're going to get to this point where you're going to charge less and you're going to find this moment where you want to scale and you're going to want to jump out of the truck and you're going to find yourself always coming back into the truck because you're not going to accommodate the price increase at that moment. Like at some point you're just going to run into a moment where you actually just can't afford to grow this business beyond yourself.
There's only 3 ways to make money. You can do more work, which more work, if you're not profitable, isn't going to get you there.
Sure. It'll just give you, it'll be the same percentages.
You can charge more or you can be more efficient. You can only get so efficient.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
And part of being efficient is you drive down costs, right?
Right.
You can drive down costs. You can drive efficiency like scheduling. You can drive efficiency in all sorts of ways. You can only get so efficient. You're only going to do so much work.
Right.
Like if you're a one-man show, you can only do so much work.
Right.
Right? One guy is limited in how much work he can do. The easiest way to make money today is to charge more.
Yeah.
It's the one lever you can pull and make more money. Trying to increase efficiency could take years. You'll be out of business before you get there.
Yeah.
And chances are you're not going to increase it that much. You're still going to have to charge a lot.
Especially if you're the business owner. You're probably already pretty dang efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, too bad. What was the first part of this question?
What your overhead is versus your revenue.
My overhead versus my revenue. Our overhead's 3.8 million. Our revenue I just looked at it today. Last 365 was 5.2 something.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Cool. All right. Should you still charge $500 if every established company in your area is roughly 100 to 150?
Yes. Short answer, yes. Why? Because you're going to make all the money, you're going to spend all the money on marketing, you're going to get all the customers, and you're going to dominate your area.
Yeah.
We charge $610. The next most expensive plumber in town, they only have 2 plumbers, I believe. Last I checked. They're like 400. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is 200 and under.
Gotcha.
Every single other plumber.
Yeah, and this actually would be a good example. Like what you just said is a good example in reference to this question because this sounds like a small market where there might be a lot of players, but they're very small companies.
If you're the most expensive, you will kill it.
Yeah.
You will make a lot of money. You will serve a lot of customers. Mm-hmm. You will be able to take very good care of your employees, and you will have a lot of happy customers because you will be able to provide them with a good service that the other players in the market cannot.
Right.
Number one, they can't even get new customers. Mm-hmm. Number two, they can't provide them with a good service because they don't make enough money to provide them with a good service. Mm-hmm. They can't hire good guys because they can't pay them enough. Mm-hmm. They're just stuck. And if that's everybody in your market and you come in and do something different, you don't even have any competition.
Sure, yeah, you're a completely different business. You're a different beast at that point.
You will own the market. So yeah, 100%. Dan Kennedy said, there's no strategic advantage to being the second cheapest, the second most expensive.
There you go.
That's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
But there's a huge strategic advantage to being the most expensive.
Yeah.
And he's 100% right.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
The most expensive will outmarket the second most expensive and take all their work.
Yeah.
This is how it is.
True. I mean, what is it? The best known beats the best every time.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, if you think about it, like there could be in your market plumbers who are better than you at plumbing. They might consider themselves the best, but since you're the best known, you'll win all the time.
Yeah. Like nobody knows who this guy is.
Yeah.
He ain't going to get any work.
And like, that's true for everything. Like there could be, your neighbor could be the world's best basketball player.
Yep.
But because nobody knows that dude exists, it doesn't matter.
Yep. So the game here is you couple everybody knowing who you are with exceptional customer service, exceptional quality of work, and you charge a lot of money for it. And you have an untouchable business model.
Yeah.
For the most part.
And it's almost like, I mean, we use the word a lot of money because it's relative to the audience.
That's it.
Like, and that's it. But like, really, we could just say that you do excellent work, excellent customer service, and you charge what you need to accomplish that.
Correct.
And
think about it from your customer's standpoint, okay? They are calling your business because they have a toilet that's running. How often does that happen? How often are they calling your business? Because of a running toilet or a plumbing problem. It's not that often. It's once every couple of years, okay? So if they're paying you $600 for a flapper every 3 years, they're paying you $200 a year. It's not a big chunk of money out of their pocket for plumbing maintenance on their house. Sure. When they call the one truck Chuck, and he's like, well, I'll call you back when I have some time. And then they call back at this really inconvenient time. And they're like, hey, I got some time. I can come out to your house.
Yeah, randomly.
And they're like, let me see if I can get some time off work. Or I got a Zoom meeting and I work from home. And okay, whatever, because they waited 2 weeks for this guy to call them back. Then this dude shows up in a ratty old van, and they're like, I don't know about this guy. They don't trust anything he's doing.
Right.
If you can answer your phone, get them on the schedule, and get them taken care of, the money they're paying you, the $200 a year on average, is well worth it to a lot of people. They don't have to be rich, right? They just have to have money to spend on plumbing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
People who don't are going to go do their own plumbing or call the cheapo guy. They're okay with that because they're like, I need the cheapo guy.
Yeah.
There's so many customers out there. There are more customers out there who are like, I don't want to deal with the crazy lunatic guy that I don't trust. I want them to get this problem fixed now, not later. And I don't mind paying whatever it costs.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's like, don't think that your thoughts about money are your customers' thoughts about money.
Correct.
Like people make that assumption all the time, especially within the trades, because they think, well, I would never do this. I would never pay for that. I was like,
of course
well,
not.
Duh.
Of course not.
Like,
Ding
you
dong.
know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, why would you? This doesn't make any sense.
I wouldn't pay somebody to come change my flapper.
Yeah, you just...
And the reason is because it's more of a pain in the butt for me to call somebody, have them out here to change my flapper. It's not even the money.
Yeah.
It's just that I know that I could have a flapper delivered to me from Home Depot and I got other toilets and then I just swap a flapper out. And it's easier for me than calling a plumber.
Yes.
But for people who aren't mechanically inclined, who don't know what's going on, who feel like they're going to break it if they try to fix it.
Right. Or don't even want to begin like thinking about it.
Yeah. It's easier for them to call a plumber until that plumber is a one-truck chuck and doesn't call him back and doesn't get him on the schedule, and then they don't trust him, and then they're worried to have him in his house, and the whole thing becomes a pain in the butt. So if you're a company that can be super easy to deal with, in other words, it's easier for them to call you than to call the other guy or try to fix it themselves, you're golden.
That makes me think of our earlier question with the guy saying that, he gets all the work from the greedy customers. And it's sort of ironic because we could just say it's 50%. They're like, yeah. And then the big companies get all the work from the guys that you can't take care of. Like it goes both, like it can go both ways.
They get all the work from the people who don't want to deal with him.
Exactly. And then those goes right to the customers who are like,
and those are the ones who are willing to pay good money for plumbing. Yeah. And they're easy to deal with. Yeah. And they leave you 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just funny because it's like the assumption is that like, oh, you're too expensive, I'll get all your work. But it's actually because you don't know how to run your business, so I'm going to get the work.
The funny part about that is that's every plumber who goes into business for themselves, they usually think, I'm going to charge less and I'm going to get all I'm going to get all the work, I'm going to make all the money, but then what ends up happening is they all end up broke. Yeah. They're like, dang it.
Like something isn't right here.
This doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, and it comes down to like, well, you just went into it not understanding how the mechanism works.
It's fundamentally flawed from the get-go.
Yeah.
Fate foiled me again.
Dang it. Dang it. I was just born at the wrong time, wrong place. That must be it.
Yep.
Okay. You're awesome, man. Would you run Google or Facebook ads?
Would I run Google or Facebook ads? Like if I had to choose?
Yeah.
I'd run them both.
Okay. Would you run them both like just right from the get-go?
I mean, me personally, yes.
Yeah, sure.
If I had to pick one, like if I started out and I didn't have any, I mean, it's contextual, right? If I didn't have any work, I would try running Google ads first.
Sure.
Because because you're going to pay for a phone call.
Okay.
Facebook is going to be more of a branding play. Facebook, like direct response ads, like, hey, call us for work. They typically don't work that well.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Because nobody's on Facebook looking for a plumber. They're all on Google, getting fed Google ads looking for a plumber.
Yeah, when we're on Facebook, we're just looking to get entertained.
Yeah, Facebook isn't a search engine where people go to look for a professional service.
No. Well, then why even run Facebook ads at all?
So Facebook ads are good for brand awareness. So you can show people, hey, we're a plumbing company and we're in your area and we do a good job.
Right.
And they will get to know who you are, build the know, like, trust factor.
Yep.
And then when they do go to Google to search for a plumber, they either search directly for you because they've seen you so many times and they know who you are and they trust you, or they get fed an ad and they have two options, you or some guy they've never heard about.
Right.
And they've seen you get 5-star reviews all over the place and they click on you and your GMB has a ton of 5-star reviews, they're going to call you.
Right.
Right. So that'll drive down your Google ad cost.
Right. Yeah, and you have to think about it like our brains are kind of wired to go the path of least resistance.
Yep.
So when you are informed of a company's existence, just you're on Facebook to get entertained.
Yeah.
And you see your plumbing company pop up a couple times a week.
Putting 5-star reviews on Facebook and then paying money to Facebook to feed those out to people in your community,
Yeah.
that's like other people referring your company to new customers, basically, right? It's like getting a referral. It's the next best thing, I would say.
And it's like you just appear in their lives, like no matter where they're at. Like if you think about all of us with our phones, it's like if that, like it's just like somebody like popping into the bathroom when you're taking a poop and you're looking on your phone, like, hey, remember Prospector Plumbing? Like, oh, thanks, man, and they just keep going.
If you're on your phone while you're pooping, you got to stop.
But like that's like the 45-minute break,
dude. No, get that over with. Get back to work.
So a laptop when you're pooping, or I got to be entertained by something, man. Come on now.
Okay, here's a prime example of that. Mm-hmm. Not being entertained while pooping, but prime example of
door open watching TV.
Dude, man, I worked with a guy who had TVs in his bathroom. Like you go to his house, and if he's listening to this, I doubt he does, but if he does, I love him to death. He's a good person. He had a TV in his living room, and he'll laugh if he listens to this. TV in his living room, TV in his kitchen, TV in his dining room, TV in his bedroom, TV in all of his bathrooms. It's like, dude,
that's so funny in his bathrooms, huh?
And back in the day when I knew him and I found out he had so many TVs, I didn't even have a TV. And I was like, dude, and they would all be on.
It's like playing the same thing or different stuff?
No, different stuff. It was wild. Just different way of doing stuff.
Now we just do that normally. You just walk around your house looking at your phone.
Yeah, that's how everybody probably is now. They're all just on their phone.
Mm-hmm. I'm on my phone right now.
You better not be.
Oh, okay, I'll get off of it.
Okay, prime example. I just moved to Florida, 2 years ago. Yeah. There's a company here called Peden. Mm-hmm. They're the only ones I've seen an advertisement from. I've seen their trucks driving around. I've seen their billboards. I've seen them on social media. Mm-hmm. Guess who I called when I needed my AC maintenance?
Peden.
I called Peden. Yeah. I didn't know who else to call.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. Let me just lean into that point because I've lived here for like 6 months now.
Yep.
And I've seen other people drive around, but Peden's the only one I remember.
Yeah.
Because I've seen them the most.
Yep. You remember, what color are they?
They're red and white.
Wow. See?
There you go. I can see their van in my head.
Yep.
I can see other color schemes in my head, but I can't see the names. Like I'm trying to imagine them right now.
Yep.
And it's just because I haven't seen them as much.
Yep. You haven't seen them often enough.
Yeah. And so the social media provides the service of getting in front of your audience, your customer, often.
Yeah.
And reliably often.
Yep.
What's cool about social media, especially for like plumbing businesses, is it's not something that's like, oh, it worked last month. We got in front of this many people this many times. It's like each month it's pretty dang consistent.
Dude, it's remarkably consistent.
Yeah, for the same amount of money spent.
Yep.
And so it's like it's a very reliable branding machine, I would say.
And nobody's doing it.
No, because everybody thinks because you can't track the phone call ROI that it's not worth it.
Yep.
And it's just a very shallow-minded perspective on advertising.
Correct.
And so when we go back to like understanding the marketing landscape, that's why it's good to understand the marketing landscape.
Yep.
And like understand more than just like, oh yeah, I got to get my phone to ring and that's it. I'll let the experts handle it.
Yep.
Because sometimes the experts, like nobody's doing Facebook very well for plumbing businesses because even the experts don't even think about it.
Yep.
They're focused on...
It's too hard.
Well, yeah, because and also it's hard to pitch. Like if I'm trying to sell you into my thing and I'm like, hey man, like I can't really attribute phone calls to this.
Yeah,
but you'll get in front of people.
There's no measurable ROI.
Yep.
And we know from experience doing social media for plumbing businesses, people get super picky about what their content is for no reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people are particular about interesting things when at the end of the day you're like, yeah, but people are seeing your colors and your logo and they're seeing your 5-star reviews and they're meeting your people.
You shouldn't care anything outside of, am I making money?
Yeah.
Is what I'm doing making me money or not?
Yeah.
That should be your main focus.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll do social media that has zero effect. Just does not make them money. It's completely useless.
It just sits there. It's very boring and arbitrary.
Silly.
It's the same thing that everybody else does with the same stock photo.
Yep. Okay. Next question. We could talk about that all day long.
Yeah, we could. Okay. All right. Are you a plumber by trade? You think it's a good idea to become a plumber first, then start my business and hire people? Question mark. You think new construction plumbing is good experience? Okay, that's it.
3 questions. Yes, I am a plumber by trade. Do I think it's a good idea to become a plumber by trade? Yeah, because you hold a license, makes you personally more valuable. Then you can start your business. You don't have to try to find somebody with a license.
Yeah.
Plus, it gives you the plumbing experience, right? If you're already an experienced businessman, and you don't want to go get a license, yeah, you don't have to. You could go buy a business, rent a license, then run a plumbing business, no problem.
Right.
What was the third question?
Do you think that new construction plumbing is good experience?
I think it's great experience.
How so?
So, because I came from new construction. New construction, I did houses, condos, industrial work, all sorts of stuff on military bases. It gave me an appreciation for service work, number one, because I thought it was more fun, right?
Yeah. You thought service was more fun?
Yeah. And then it also, when you go into a house and you have plumbed a house top to bottom a million times, it gives you a unique perspective when you're going in there of how things are actually ran versus if you were just a service plumber your whole life and you've never seen what's under the concrete. You've never seen what's in the walls. It's much harder to do your job.
Yeah, to diagnose the problems.
Yeah. Yep.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it's valuable. You can learn, you start to understand codes and all that stuff. I think it's valuable.
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. That was easy. Okay. I'm confused. On what? That's it. I'm confused. I'm confused on what you actually mean by $590 per hour. Is that per guy on the job? Is that per service truck? 2 guys per truck? ? Is that what number you use to bid a job? What does $590 per hour actually mean?
This is one we get a lot. Okay, so the way that I run my business is we have one guy in a truck. And he goes to the job. He gets dispatched. He goes there. He looks at the work. He bids it. By bid, I mean give the customer an estimate, sells the work, does the work, collects payment, and then goes to the next one. In that case, $598, we must have been $598 when he wrote that comment. $590. So if our hourly rate was $600, then the technician, when he's there, if he's there for 2 hours, it's a $1,200 bill, right?
Right.
For just the labor.
Yep. Yeah.
Some people will, so yes, it's per hour. If we have 2 guys on a job, then it's essentially $1,200 an hour.
Yeah. Because that second guy isn't somewhere else doing what you just described that first guy is doing.
Correct.
So if you don't charge for that second guy, then you're just going to lose.
You're going to lose money.
Because that guy's just, hanging out for funsies.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. The only instance there would be an exception there would be if a lot of guys like to have 2 guys driving around in a truck. I would just ixnay that right away.
Sure.
Get rid of the passenger princess. I don't see why you would do that. It's just not efficient.
Is there a way, though, where you could figure out if it was efficient? Like the best example I've ever heard for that reason, which is actually, I don't know if it's the best, but it's my favorite.
Yep.
Is a guy who was in New York, like New York City.
Yep.
And he says, I got to have a second guy in the truck just so I don't get parking tickets.
So if that's efficient, if that's what you have to do, then that's part of your cost of doing business. So in that sense, I would think about my hourly rate as per truck. Okay.
Right. So the truck is, okay.
And so when you're figuring your hourly rate, though, you would include all of your labor costs, and each truck would only be able to bill out 1,100 hours. So those 2 guys together are still only going to bill out 1,100 hours. Okay. Yeah. And then you charge that much for those 2 guys to show up per hour.
Yeah.
If another 2 guys show up, you have to double.
Yeah. Okay? If another truck shows up in this example.
You can think about it per guy or you can think about it per crew. A lot of times, though, when you start adding those extra passenger princesses in, it just drives the cost of your business up.
Yeah.
And you lose efficiency and you end up having to charge the customer way more for it.
Yeah.
And then my company can come in with 1 guy and we can provide the same service for a cheaper price.
Yeah.
But if you can't, like if it's part of, like you're in an area where you have to have that passenger princess, the only way, Or you have super old guys and you have to provide them with a younger buck to go help them grunt their work out. Yeah, then you have to.
Yeah, you just have to make sure that you're charging for that. Like you can't just look at it like it's free or I charge for it's, and maybe tell me what you think about this, or if you come across this where it's like, well, we'll charge, a journeyman is worth this much, an apprentice is worth this much because they're not as skilled. When in reality, what would you think of that? Like if I just told you that was how I sort of am doing my pricing,
I would tell you to not do that. I mean,
sure, yeah.
He's not as skilled, so he's going to take longer.
Yeah.
Either way, the job should cost the same,
right,
no matter who's there.
Right.
So if you have a less skilled person going in, it's going to take him longer.
Right.
And you're not going to pay him as much.
Right.
Job cost is the same.
Right.
If you have a more skilled person go in, he's going to do the job quicker, and so you can pay him more. That's how you should look at it.
Gotcha.
The cost for the customer shouldn't go up or down based on who's at their house.
Yeah.
Right?
Gotcha.
It should be the same cost consistently.
Yeah, and that is, I think, where guys get tripped up because I'll hear like, well, my cost is this if it's just me.
Yeah.
But if it's, well, I guess that goes to your first point though, because if it's like, then you would say, and if I bring another guy, then it's just double because that's what it costs for me to bring this other guy, right? Am I thinking about that correctly?
If you're, I mean, the real basis problem of this, of somebody being like, is it $590 for you and another guy or $590 just for myself? They don't have an understanding of what it costs them to run their business.
Yeah.
And if they did, they would immediately know the answers to these questions.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if that's you, grab our playbook, link in the bio or in the description, grab the hourly rate calculator and run it.
Yeah, gotcha. If you grab that playbook, you'll be able to get access to Jared's peanut butter ball recipe. Okay, next question.
That'd be really funny to put that in there. Bonus peanut butter ball recipe.
It's kind of my favorite joke. Like nobody would get it. It'd be like
it
a
just
dumb
takes
inside
off.
joke. Yeah.
I get known for my peanut butter ball recipe.
You're blowing up on Pinterest. We're running ads to Pinterest now. Like my peanut butter ball recipe. This is how I scaled my $1 million peanut butter recipe.
I'm on Oprah.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait, dude. I used to do plumbing, but now I just make peanut butter balls. Oh man. Okay. All right. I would love an episode that dives into what you need to have before hiring your first employee, like the paperwork and payroll and understanding what tax forms and stuff. Thanks for the great insight. That's a good one.
Dude, just ask your bookkeeper. Ask your payroll company.
Yeah, that's true. I ask Becca's like that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Becca, what do I need to do for this?
When I hired my first employee, I hired him and then my bookkeeper does my books and my payroll. And I said, hey, Becca, if you need a good bookkeeper, go to, what is it, Becca at BrusselBookkeeping.com?
I don't know.
I think it's Becca at Brussel. Just look up Brussel Bookkeeping.
You'll probably find something.
Yeah, it's good. I literally called her and I said, I just hired a person. What do I do?
Yeah.
And she was like, you need to have him fill out this paperwork. And I said, okay. And she goes, let me send you some. She sent me just like a rough draft of hers. And then I was able to just change it.
Yeah.
But it's not much. You need like a direct deposit form. You need some IRS forms, like a W-2? See, I don't even know.
W-4.
I have tons of employees. We pay them every week. I don't even know what they need.
It's not a lot though.
It's
just a couple things. Like really, you just want to make sure that the government knows how much money they're going to be contributing.
Yep.
And then they need to be able to get paid probably directly to their bank account.
Yep.
And then after that, it's all whatever you want to do. It's all proprietary.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want to have an employee agreement?
Yep.
Like, how do you want to structure this relationship?
Yep.
But the legal stuff is pretty dang simple, surprisingly so.
Yep.
And then I think, you want to know the difference if they're like a W-2 or if they're like a 1099. Like you want to like understand those things, which your bookkeeper could help you or the internet could help you with.
Yep.
But yeah, that's one of the things that your bookkeeper can really help you. Like even like for Wealthy Plumber, I'll ask Becca stuff and be like, hey, what do I got to do? And she's like, it's this. And I'm like, thanks. And that's it.
A lot of business is just knowing who to ask.
Yes.
Who do I ask to solve this problem?
And like, if you're doing any revenue, you should have a bookkeeper anyway. So you already have that tool in your toolkit to ask these questions.
Yep.
Okay. Wow. Jeez. Okay. Joel is such a likable guy. Would love to hear more about would love to hear about his story more, Jared?
Am I supposed to answer this?
Yeah. So Jared, what do you think about that?
Joel is a likable guy.
Thanks.
Yeah. Cool. Your story, you used to load planes.
Yeah, I moved to Alaska in 2008, and it was either that or music school, which music school was like going to be like $40,000 for 2 years. And if you think about music school, it sounds like it's a terrible idea.
Dude, horrible.
Because like I'm going to walk away with a certificate that I did good in music school.
Yeah.
And then what am I going to do?
Nothing.
I'm going to go like hope to get in a band and make a bunch of money. So like,
which you could do without him.
Yeah, you don't need, you just need a
music school.
Exactly. So like I went there, I was going to go to music school because it's what my sister did. She enjoyed it. I was going to move to California, into Pasadena, live in my my dad's aunt, sister, somebody. I think his aunt's house. Luckily, my dad approached me before that. He said, hey, he was moving up to Alaska to go back to the job they used to have. He flies planes. And he was like, hey, man, you want to just come with me and come to work? And I was like, yes. And it's funny because I didn't even really have to think about it. I just said like, yeah, that sounds good. Like way better than going to music school. Because I think I just wanted to have an answer for college because all my friends were going to college. And I was like, I guess I'll go to college too. And ended up moving to Alaska. I think like if I was being honest, the things that I can contribute to the success I've had is that's actually a very pivotal. I can remember one pivotal moment. But I was working and I just decided that like I'm in a completely new place. I can essentially remake myself to be whatever I want because nobody knows me here. And so I said, I'm just going to be honest and I'm going to just tell the truth all the time.
Yep.
Like I told that to myself. And I think I said like, and I'm also going to be humble, try my best to be humble. Those are like my two main rules. And then I got a job loading planes, which was super fun. I made a couple mistakes early on, and there's this one pivotal moment where I made a huge mistake. There was a plane that was leaving. I ran out and put the thing on the wrong plane, right? This very important like medicine went on the wrong plane in Alaska going hundreds of miles to a different place. And my boss looked around at all of us. He says, sorry, Jed, who the fuck did that? Who put that thing on the plane? And everybody's looking around like, not me, not me. And I had this thought in my head. I was like, I can either just say not me, or I can say it was me. And I was like, I stepped forward. I was like, it was me. I did it. Like I totally messed it up. I was like, my bad. And in that moment, I looked at everyone and everyone was like, damn, dude, you're just going to say that? Like you're going to get fired, dog. Like you can't just say that you made a mistake. And what happened was I didn't get fired. My boss was like, okay, well, don't do that again. I was like, okay. And then in that moment, this is the pivotal moment, right? I understood that I needed to own my mistakes 100%. And I kept making mistakes, but I kept owning them. And I could tell that was not okay because my boss at the time kept looking at me like, are you an idiot? And so I realized that I was like, okay, but I also have to get better at my job. But what I noticed is I got better at my job. And because I was honest and I owned my mistakes, I just started getting paid more money and was given more responsibility. And then I continually accepted anything that they gave me. If they wanted to move me up in the company, I said, sure, without a thought. And by being honest, I was able to earn the respect of a lot of older people because I was like 18 and everybody I worked with was like 25 and above. And they just saw me as some snot-nosed kid, you know, your dad's the boss or whatever because he was like the director or something. And like, who are you? But like, I just earned my spot there because I was honest about stuff. They asked me questions, I tell them honestly. And they're like, dang, dude, that's cool. Okay, interesting. So I loaded planes for a while, left that company. It's actually funny. Second pivotal moment of my life was I interviewed for the supervisor position. And I thought I did awesome in the interview, thought I killed it, right? And then the guy pulled me aside. I didn't get it, and he pulled me aside, and he said, Joel, that was the worst interview that we had. And it crushed me. It crushed me. And like, talk about, like, that was probably the most humbling moment of my life. And I was like, holy crap. But in that moment, I was like, I'm going to quit this job. Not because I didn't get the job, but just, I don't need to be here anymore. And this place kind of sucks. And so then I went and got a different job and just loaded airplanes for another, I don't know, 12, 13 years and worked my way up in that company, led a couple departments there. had like, 25 odd people under me, which was a lot of fun. I miss a lot of elements of that job because it's like, it's fun to look back at a job and be like, oh dang, that was a good time. Like mentoring those guys, solving those real world problems. Definitely fond memories. Like when I think of Alaska, I don't like the cold. I'm very appreciative that I can just ride my bike here and it doesn't matter. But looking back, I'm like, dang, that was a cool place to work. Like I liked that. That was a good time. I learned a lot there. And then in the middle there, I met a wife and married her, and then had some kids, and eventually you were like, hey, actually, I think our relationship started because like we knew each other just because we were in the same church circles. And then eventually we started a home church, but then really you were like, hey, you want to come help me like move some heavy stuff? I got to move some boilers. And I'll pay you a little extra money. And I was like, hell yeah, I need extra money.
And you were like the world's greatest mover.
And
world's greatest boiler mover.
Because my job is like moving heavy stuff all the time. And I like to work. Like physical work is super fun to me. Like even now, like when we I helped my friend Alex, move up here. I was so excited, just like load a trailer. I was like, hell yeah, like let's stack some boxes, bro. Like take a break, I got this. But I think that's where like our relationship started to develop, because you're like, oh, Joel's cool. Like he can move stuff well, and he like does a good job. And what's cool is I think like all of that. I mean, really, my play for the future was like, well, if I ever move out of Alaska, I just got to like convince somebody that I'm worth the money wherever I hire. Because I didn't have any skills, right? Nothing on paper. Like I wasn't a plumber. I wasn't anything that could transfer. I was just an airplane loader. And I didn't want to do that. But what was cool is like you sort of allowed me not to do that, because you were like, hey man, you want a job? Like I'm building this new thing, this social media company. You want to just like do that with me? Seemed like you're like, you would do a good job. And I was like, hell yeah, thanks.
You're the only one that ever listened to me.
Actually, that's funny. That's
and I was like, this guy, he actually listens.
Yeah, I mean, very impressionable.
I don't think you're impressionable. I think when somebody says something, I think you think about things. When somebody says something and you're like, huh, that actually makes sense. You like take it in and you're like, oh, I should probably change what I'm doing to reflect what makes sense.
Yeah. And I think that comes down to like having humility as one of our main traits that we should lean on, because it makes us really teachable. And it makes us open to criticism from all angles. And like loading planes, I got to work with a lot of people who knew a lot more than me. And also, more importantly, work with people who thought they knew a lot more than me. If you can work well with people who just think they know more than you, and you can accept from them criticism, even though they're crappy people to be criticizing you because they have no reason to, you can get along in life a lot better. And you can lead people well, because you're like, oh yeah, this guy's an ass, but what he just said, some of that does make sense. I should apply that. And that just comes back to not thinking super highly of yourself, that you're above taking advice from anybody. So yeah, and then moved to Florida and learned how to ride a bike, and now that's super fun. And
now we podcast.
And now we sit at this table and podcast and eat peanut butter balls, and yeah, man. Well, that's pretty much me. Just normal stuff. Okay.
Good story.
Cool story, bro. Okay, back to business. Okay. How do you come up with a flat rate price for mainline, sink line snaking, and locating and repairing pipe leaks? Or do you just tell them $450 per hour?
Oof. We do not ever give an hourly rate. Ever, period. So my guys, we have a flat rate task for, there's two ways to do it. So we do it by pipe size, or we could call it location. Like if your mainline drain costs a certain amount. Snaking your kitchen sink costs a certain amount. Snaking your bathtub, certain amount. Snaking your toilet, certain amount. Typically, we've got like an hour and a half on those tasks. So if it takes 45 minutes on average, put an hour and 30 minutes on it. And then that's how much you charge.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Some guys do it by the machine. So like they do it like, hey, if I can do it with this machine, it's this much. If I have to get out this machine, it's this much. And if I have to get out this big machine, it's this much. So that's another way to do it.
And each machine provides a different value.
Yeah. Each machine, you would say, has a different amount of hours on it, right?
Yeah, I gotcha.
So if I got to whip out, and you could step that, right? So how we do it is it's like, okay, we can snake it for this much. If we need to get out our jetter, we move to the next task, which is snake and jet,
Right.
which is more expensive, has more time on it. And then it's like the next one we offer is, and you could include like chain knocker in there or whatever.
Sure.
And then we camera with each of them. And then the next thing we move to for an option is whole house drain clean. So we'll snake and jet your main line, jet out your kitchen sink, and we will snake all your bathroom sinks and your tub drains.
Gotcha. Okay.
Never
that
hourly.
makes sense. Yeah, never. And I mean, like, that kind of comes back to, like, when we say, like, flat rate is based upon an hourly rate.
Yep.
Like, we're just using that because that is how you determine the.
Time's just a number you use to measure things.
Yeah. It's not like, we're not really referring to time and materials, right? Like,
No.
we're not using that framework at all.
If you bill them for an hour and a half and you're only there for 45 minutes, good.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the goal.
Yes. Yeah.
The goal is to beat your numbers.
Yeah. Gotcha.
To be more efficient.
Yeah, and then you build your numbers around you not beating your numbers because things go weird or guys don't perform at what you want them to, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. Easy peasy. What would you say is the fastest way for me to make $1 million in plumbing if you're like me with only my journeyman license?
Get whatever licensing you need to start your business and then start a business.
Sure.
And you could literally make $1 million your first year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, let's see. I bet you he means himself making $1 million, like his own paycheck.
Himself making $1 million as an employee, very tough.
Yeah. Could you do that as an employee?
Probably you take home $1 million.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You'd
have to work for a big company. You'd have to move up and be real high up in it.
Yeah, you'd have to be like CEO of that giant company or COO, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
Depending upon what giant company it is.
Yep.
But that'd be a pretty stinking big company.
Yep. You'd be better off starting your own.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Can you please, in all caps, offer some recommendations for apprentices just in all caps starting out? Anything we can do at this point, and as we go, that'll set us up for success, get us ready so when we get our masters, we can start our own business, start killing it, and truly earn a wealthy plumber hat. Thank you. I want a wealthy plumber hat. We have those?
I have one. It looks terrible.
Oh. Dang, that guy wants to earn a hat, man. That's awesome.
I would watch this podcast. I would learn as much information as I can. And I would never lose sight of that dream.
Yeah.
So I would write that down every day in my journal every morning. So let's go back. Like, you can learn all about the business of plumbing. Like, you can learn from this podcast. You can download our playbook. But that's only half the equation.
Yeah.
The other half is the person you need to become to be a successful business owner. So start working on yourself. Like, you have the opportunity now.
Yeah.
I would start waking up early, right? Early to bed, early to rise keeps you healthy, wealthy, and wise. I would start waking up early. I would start journaling. I would start reading books. I would start doing hard things and developing discipline. So go run a marathon. Go run a 100-mile race. Wake up every morning and work out. Start living and dying by your Google Calendar. Develop the discipline to, like, be healthy, eat healthy, develop your mind, go to bed on time.
Don't hang out with stupid people doing stupid stuff.
Quit drinking, quit smoking. Don't do any of that crap. Wake up every morning and make your bed.
Yeah.
Make your own food.
Don't be a victim. Don't claim that, well, if things weren't so hard, I'd be able to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. If you do those things and you get your master's license and you go to start your business, you're going to be unstoppable.
Oh, yeah. Dude, you're going to crush.
You are going to kill it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
Because all you will lack is knowing how to run a business.
Yeah. Yeah, all you will lack is knowing how to run a business and then the experience of failure that comes with that process.
Yeah.
And you'll gain that.
Knowing how to run a business is like such a small part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people fail because they lack the rest of it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
They have terrible mindsets, terrible understanding, terrible discipline,
terrible like eating habits,
terrible
sleeping
eating
habits. It's kind of
terrible sleeping habits. Like they don't have their life together yet, and that's why they're not successful.
It's kind of interesting, and we could talk about this on a whole podcast, but it's interesting that we think we can like learn these things and then be successful when our lives, the way that we live our lives is just garbage.
Yeah, it's not successful at all.
Yeah, it's like those things have to map or else one thing will give. You might gain success, but then your body's going to give because you don't treat it well.
Yep.
Or your habits catch up with you, and then you're going to lose all that momentum you gained.
Correct.
Yeah, it's like common sense when you talk about it. It's hard to do, but you got to do it.
Yep.
Okay. How do you figure all plumbing companies need to charge $400 per hour plus to be profitable? Most of my area are under $150, and I think the average is $85. Some of these companies have been in business for 40 plus years. Not saying you're wrong, just curious.
So they've been in business for a long, long time, and they may have been profitable at one point in time at 150, but you don't know if they're profitable now.
Right.
Actually, I know that they're not. They're just getting by.
Yeah.
And the only reason they're getting by is because their trucks are paid off.
Yeah, sure.
They're big enough to where they have economy of scale, but I guarantee you they're just getting by.
And like if they're around that long, they probably have some good local word of mouth, so they probably don't have to pay a ton in advertising.
Correct.
But even that company isn't probably worth that much, like to be able to buy that company.
Nope.
And nobody's like having a great time making a bunch of money there.
Nope.
So like you can have that business that's just scrapes by for your whole life.
I don't want it.
Yeah, sounds
Go get a
miserable.
job.
Yeah, get a job.
Yeah.
Make more money.
Yep.
Live better.
Yep.
Okay.
A lot of times those businesses, the owner back in the day started the business, ran it, made a lot of money, retired, sold it to somebody or sold it to an employee.
Gave it to his kid or something.
And they just kept running it how it was running and started making less and less and less and less and less and less and less money as things cost more. And now they're not profitable.
And within like the plumbing trade, it's very common, that scenario that he just described.
Yeah.
And it's just because there's a lack of knowledge of how the business runs.
Yep.
But you can still get by with knowing only how to do the work. You can still get by for a long time, but you're just not going to be thriving.
Yeah, there's a huge lack in just plumbing business owners running a business to make money.
True.
It's weird. I don't know why you would go through all of that headache to not make money.
Yeah, it's funny because
it's not worth it.
And it's funny because it's like I talk to these guys, and that should just be one of my questions. Like, so what are you in this business for?
Yeah.
And then they'll probably say something like to make money. And then I'll be like, how's that been going?
Most of them would probably tell you freedom.
Yeah.
And you would say, how's that going? And they'd probably be like, terrible. I got to work all the time because I don't make any money. Right?
Yeah.
There's a disconnect between how much money you make and how much freedom you get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I have a question. If I'm in one truck stage and I haven't gotten a solid brand and wrap yet, should I still post pictures of my van and myself on my GMB?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Why not? Like, what else are you going to put? What are you going to put on there?
What's the option? Either not a picture or like a picture of your work.
Yeah. You smiling in front of your unwrapped van is going to be better than either a no picture or a picture of your work.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep. And you can always make yourself look presentable.
Yes, you can put on a nice shirt.
Yep.
Smile real big.
Cut your hair.
Yeah.
Brush your beard.
Yep. Get all the sticks out.
Clean clothes.
Yeah.
Sticks.
Just
just
looking
got
at
sticks
you,
in your beard.
Well, it gets a little wild. You're out in the woods, doing stuff, doing cool stuff,
That's funny.
Okay. I love the trade and can't wait to do what you do when I'm licensed. One question. How are you charging $400 an hour? In my area, Connecticut, we charge $168, and that's high compared to most other companies near us. Thanks for the video. I learned a ton.
Man, I feel like we already answered this question.
Yeah.
How do you do it? You literally just price yourself at $400 an hour and you go flat rate. And you say, okay, changing your toilet is this much.
Yeah.
Here's how much it costs. Would you like me to move forward with it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you do it. And if you don't, you're going to go broke.
Yeah, and I think you just have to motivate yourself and reassure yourself that if you don't do it, you'll go broke.
Yep.
Regardless of what other people are doing, they will eventually go broke if they don't make a change.
Yep. Quit looking around at what other people are doing and do what's best for you.
Yeah, comes back to grab the playbook, look at the hourly rate calculator, run that sucker, and that'll help you figure out what to charge.
Yep. Know your numbers.
Okay. Does your hourly charge incorporate your vehicle charge and snake machine if needed? Or is that additional as well? Thanks for all the great info.
No additional. Because all that stuff, your vehicle expenses, how much you're spending on new equipment or repairing equipment, that should all be boiled into your hourly rate.
Gotcha.
It's all considered an expense.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, your hourly rate covers your expenses, including your truck and your machines and all that stuff, plus enough money to make a profit.
Gotcha.
So every customer is paying their fair share of your expenses.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Simple enough.
Yep.
I'm charging $70 an hour and then adding parts/materials on top of that. Do you think I need to raise my hourly rate?
Holy moly, yeah. And you need to double your material costs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we got 4 more. Are we gonna make it?
Sure.
When you hired your marketing company, did you go with someone local or someone online?
Someone local or someone online? I want someone local because my brother owns a marketing company.
Yeah. So
So-
your brother happened to live near you.
Yes. And at the time, he wanted to do more marketing for plumbers. He had a few plumbers on board, and I was like, well, let's do mine, and then I can be your case study. And so that's what we did.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And then is your was it because your brother's company was local that it worked well?
No, so, I mean, marketing, again, we talked about marketing and how they're a partner, right?
Yeah.
And hiring a marketing agency is a small portion of the equation. There's so much more to marketing outside of just hiring an agency, right? And then the reason that, like, you go hire a marketing agency, they all are going to do the same stuff. They're all going to get you a website, get you pay-per-click, get your GMB going, get your GLSA going, get your listings all together everywhere. So, like, your name and everything is listed the same, and start working on SEO. Like, they're all going to do the same stuff.
Right.
It's not some secret sauce that they're doing behind doors that only they do.
Right.
Right. What makes someone successful is when, just like we said, the business owner understands what's going on in their marketing and they communicate effectively with the marketing company
Sure.
to make smart marketing decisions together
Yeah.
and move the business forward.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, either on the marketing company's end or on the business owner's end, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Here's what happens a lot. A lot of guys hire a marketing company. They give them 30, 60 days, 90 days, whatever. And they're like, this isn't working. And they fire their marketing company and they move on to another one. When in reality, the problem wasn't necessarily the marketing company. The problem was time of year,
Right.
or they didn't spend enough money.
Right.
That's it. Those are the things. Or they weren't willing to do things that they needed to do,
Sure.
right? Those are typically what we see.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Okay. 3 more. Do you turn down remodels and other larger jobs to strictly focus on service?
Yes. Don't do remodels. Don't do larger jobs.
Yeah.
Only service.
Yeah, because they'll essentially tie your resources.
Yep. And they'll take too long to pay,
Yeah, sure.
and they're very inefficient,
Yeah.
and it's hard to make money.
Yeah.
So we stick to what we know best and what we can make money with.
Yeah.
If you do one thing, you can do one thing very well
Right.
and make a lot of money with it. When you start trying to do 2 or 3 different things within a small business, it just pulls you a bunch of different directions and you end up doing nothing very well.
Right.
And you end up not making very much money.
Right.
So pick one, learn how to make money with it, and stick with it.
Gotcha. Okay. When you say hourly rate, you are talking about time on site / labor only.
Yes. Time on site, labor only. But it's an hourly rate to figure your flat rate. So
Yeah.
you're going to a job and you're saying, I think this is going to take me 2 hours. Our hourly rate is $600. I'm going to add in half hour of drive time. So it's going to be $1,500 for labor.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to take materials. If it's a $500 material cost, I'm going to add $1,000 to that bid. Gotcha. So that would be a $2,500 estimate that I would give that customer.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah. So it seems like the drive time there. Yeah. You incorporate drive time.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Okay, last one. What happens if the job becomes more difficult after you've already quoted a flat rate of $595?
If the job is more difficult, so
Outside the original scope of work presented, maybe.
yeah, so on your estimate, you should always have like a clause that says that, hey, this isn't the final price. It could go up or down, right, based on what we find. So, and if you dig into something, like if you can see it and you didn't catch it because you're an idiot, that's a hard one to come back to the customer on, right? I would just be like, damn it, I should have caught that.
Yeah, like a learning moment.
Yes. If you open up at a wall and it's a whole different story and it's a new can of worms, that's when you say, hey, customer, let me show you what's in your wall.
Yeah.
We need to reassess the situation. And you give them a new estimate. And that's it.
Okay.
It's an easy conversation.
Yeah,
easy conversation.
Yeah, you're just communicating with the customer. Like, there's no shame in that.
It's communication.
And then you can still be like, well, I can still just do the original thing, but this whole thing is still going to be there.
Yeah, or if you can't do the original thing, just tell the customer.
Yeah.
The original thing that I quoted you is not going to work.
Yeah, because of this new stuff I found out. So, and then at that point, would you then just drill up like the new options? Like, this is what I can do and what it would look like.
Yep.
What do you want to do from here?
Yep.
Yeah.
My GM, Eddie, taught me one thing. I worked, before he became a GMO, I worked around him. And he would always tell me, put it in the customer's court. Like, let the customer decide.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, because I would go to a house and see something that needed to be fixed. And be like, dang it, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, what do we do here?
Yeah.
He's like, just present the information to the customer and let the customer decide.
Yeah.
So just go to the customer, be honest with them, show them what's going on, present their options to them, work up prices to get that stuff done, and then let them decide.
Cool, man. Man, we made it. All 100 questions.
All 100 questions. How many we get through?
30?
30?
There's only 30 on there.
Dude, we're rock stars.
Dude, man, we're so cool. Woo! All right, man. Thanks, Jared. I'm going to go eat more peanut butter balls.
Okay. See you, Holmes.
See ya.